Today, we're diving into something pretty fascinating. It's a communal living project called The Second Home, started by a group named Lifechanyuan, and their goal? Well, it's to basically redesign society from the ground up, rethinking everything from how we work to how we love.
And Lifechanyuan isn't shy about what they're building. They're not just calling this some minor social tweak. They're calling it a paradise-like model, something totally new that the world has never seen before. That's a huge claim, right? And it really sets the stage for a system that challenges our most basic ideas of how society is supposed to work.
So, at its heart, The Second Home asks this really radical question. What if you just stripped away marriage, the traditional family unit, and even the idea of national borders? It's a massive departure from everything we know. So let's break down how they think this could actually work.
Okay, first up, let's get into the lifestyle of the second home. What does it actually feel like to live in one of these communities day in and day out?
The differences from, conventional society are pretty stark. I mean, where we have marriage and family, they have what they call free love. Where we have private property, their members are said to own nothing, yet have everything. And maybe the most striking thing of all? Raising kids isn't just up to the parents. It's a collective job for the entire community.
So a typical day means at least 6 hours of efficient work, but there's no traditional boss or management. Instead, the whole community is guided by service. It's kind of socialist in its philosophy. Everyone contributes what they can, and everyone gets what they need. It creates this dynamic where everybody is both a leader and a follower at the same time. And this sense of freedom carries over into their personal lives too, with a real emphasis on open, romantic, and sexual relationships. A society this radical can't just run on good vibes, right? It needs a really powerful ideology to hold it all together. So, what are the core beliefs and values that form its foundation?
And that brings us to our second section, the blueprint of values. Here, we're going to dig into the core principles that guide every aspect of life in the second home.
Now, this is where their value system gets really interesting and kind of nuanced. On one hand, a rule says that private property you earn through your own service is protected. But then another value claims that capitalism will ultimately destroy humanity. So it suggests a really complex economic view, one that rewards you for your individual work but completely rejects the entire system of capitalism as unsustainable.
Their universal values are a real mix, covering everything from the spiritual to the social. They call for revering a greatest creator, but at the same time, they say dissolving marriage is the key to achieving a higher civilization. They believe in socialized childcare and free healthcare for everybody. But then there's this surprising twist for a communal society. They see total equality, or egalitarianism, as a pernicious ideology.
On a more personal level, members are guided by what they call the 8 footstones. This is like a personal code of conduct. It emphasizes things like being diligent, believing in the Creator, and loving the collective life. But it also says you should be filial and respectful to your parents. And that's fascinating, right? It creates this real tension between honoring your biological roots while you're actively working to dissolve the traditional family structure.
All of this leads to a pretty big question. Who came up with this whole intricate system? Who is the architect behind this blueprint and the guide for the entire community?
Well, that guide is the founder himself, a man named Shui Feng. And in this section, we're going to explore just how central his role is to this entire movement.
So, according to the group's own materials, Xu Feng is way more than just a leader. He's described as a spiritual guide, a messenger of the greatest creator who literally holds the scene of heaven in his mind. This really frames him as the direct source of the vision, the one tasked with building that heavenly model right here on Earth.
As they see it, the community's entire success is built on 3 key cornerstones. First, the personal guidance of Xu Feng. Second, something called the Chanyuan corpus, which is a whole collection of writings that makes up their complete theoretical system. And third, a core group of members they call Chanyuan celestials, who are basically raised on these values from the start.
This quote really captures the ideal member perfectly. A Chanyuan celestial is seen as this incredibly resilient, dedicated person who can fight on alone no matter what obstacles they face. And that spirit is considered absolutely essential for building their new world.
Okay, so we've got the ideology. Now let's ground it in the real world. Section 4 is all about the movement's history, and that includes the pretty significant challenges it's had to face.
So Xu Feng founded Lifechanyuan back in 2001, and by 2009, the very first second homes started popping up in China. But as you can imagine, their radical ideas about getting rid of marriage and family led to some serious conflict with the authorities. The Chinese government ended up disbanding the homes, calling them an illegal organization. And this is what forced Xu Feng to move to Canada to set up a new headquarters, even though most of his followers are still in China.
So what's the endgame here? In our final section, let's look at the ultimate goal of Lifechanyuan and their grand vision for the future of all of humanity.
Their stated mission is, well, it's nothing short of transformative. The goal isn't just to build a few isolated communities here and there, it's to guide all of humanity into a completely new era, one that's defined by universal happiness, freedom, and joy.
And their ambition is truly global. The plan is to have a headquarters in Canada and then expand to 256 branches all around the world. It's this vision of a massive, worldwide network of second homes, all running on the exact same principles.
You can really hear their grand ambition in their own words. They say this fight isn't for personal gain, but for the blessings of all human beings, with the ultimate goal of turning the entire Earth into a fairyland.
And we'll end with a question from Xu Feng's own writings that kind of challenges all of us. In a world where we're always so busy, what's the ultimate purpose we're striving for? It feels like a pretty fitting final thought from a movement that's built on completely redefining the meaning of a good life.